When somebody says, I don't know how, or I don't know, you say, well, if you did know, what would you change or what would you do? Because everyone has the answer. Everyone knows. And that's what I always say is like, I don't know what to do. And Bree's like, oh, you don't? And at the end of the day, it's just like, just move, just go do something. Welcome back. Life in Abundance with the Gentrys. We got another new setup. Bree is not happy with anything I choose. And so we are in my office now. And we'll probably be somewhere new next week. So who knows?
But it keeps you entertained. It's like, where's their backdrop going to be today? I don't know. Another scene in their home. I don't think people get bored with it. It keeps it entertaining. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about a topic that's been, we talk about every day in our household. Just getting past things from our past, working through current issues.
AKA, I'm an emotional little bitch.
Okay.
And my wife is raising a fourth kid in me. And over the years, I have let my wife be the alpha in the relationship in the areas of finances and being the emotional stable one in the family. And so what that's caused, and we just got in a fight about it because I was not able to handle my emotions like a grown man.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's hard because what we're doing right now, going through this transition in our careers, is Mark always says, you're like the Tiger Woods at this because this is something you have done for so long. And I always feel like I'm not necessarily an expert by any means. I'm just doing what I already was doing. Now I'm just transforming it to be an actual business. And I'm creating a space for people to actually pay me for my expertise. And, when you are...
But you've shown up the same way your whole entire life.
No, that's true.
You have shown up in certainty, confidence. I have not. I have been insecure. I have been not confident in my skills, not sure of anything in my life, or obsessed. And so for me to go into this venture and I'm trying to transform all of those in 180 degrees, like I am living with someone who's never had to do that. Mm-hmm. And I'm having to do that. And it's a lot of growing pains and do I really want to do this at the end of the day? Because people might not believe it. I don't believe it. I have so much growing to do that I'm 39 years old. Like, when's this going to be done? Like, when's this emotional roller coaster for my wife and for me going to be over? And yeah, you have never wavered. So for you to go into this coaching thing, it's a whole lot easier transition and closing people because you're the authentic you. I'm still trying to find out who I am.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think what it comes down to is it's not that you were never good at anything. You just always doubted yourself. Even when people would tell you, hey, you're the best, in your mind, naturally you're like, I could be better. Where I'm like, I own it. I'm like, yeah, I am the best. I worked really hard to be the best and I'm going to take that title and I will own it. It's not that easy for some people, and I understand, but I do it with grace and in integrity. I'm not trying to claim to be something that I'm not, but also what I am has allowed me to be in the space that I am. I am a salon owner. I do see X amount of clients a day. I do produce X amount of dollars a day, whatever, in the workspace. Those are all facts, and I use them to my benefit and really to help grow and scaled business that has been productive for me, and I own that. I worked really hard for that. For someone like you who has doubted your ability or even your skill when it's pointed out as a fact, that's really hard to compare yourself to someone like me. We are like fire and gasoline. We're opposites, but we can do things and be productive through the process because we do complement each other. I don't feel like we're productive now looking at it. I feel like I fight you on everything. I feel like I make everything way harder. Is that true? Yes, you have offered resistance to a lot of things that we have tried to do. And for one, in building this house, that was a process that could have gone a lot faster and a lot smoother if we would have both just been in alignment and in agreement. And it seemed like every wall we opened, like any home remodel, every wall we opened, there was a new issue. And with every issue comes another dollar. And then we were at the point where we were bleeding money, going out over budget in the process of renovating our home. And then when you go back and you look at it, it's like we made the decisions we ultimately wanted anyways. It just, I knew that was going to be the outcome, and you did too, but you chose to do it kicking and screaming. And for us, it makes it really hard. It makes it hard to make decisions together and feel aligned when you are not. The truth is you're not aligned. And so what we had to work through over the last 3 years of really creating this sense of communication that is, for one, safe and protected and have guidelines about it, and that we can be honest and vulnerable and say what we need or what we want from the other person. Not everybody can do that. And so what happens is a lot of times in your life, you start to coexist like we did for probably 12 years of our marriage. So now we're choosing these last 4 years to not live like that. But it hasn't happened overnight, and it sure as hell is a journey, let me tell you. And it isn't easy because there is no roadmap or rule book to follow. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we each have our own opinion on money. That's probably our biggest fight, disagreement, would you say?
It is for every couple, yeah.
And because Bree is very much like, hey, like, let's just, like, I'm very, like, it's weird. Like, that's all I want, but I don't make as much as she does. And it's like, the more I try to have it, the less I have. Mm-hmm. And it's the weirdest shit. It's like that. It's consumed me. It's consumed me because this coaching class we're in, it's like, he keeps bringing it up to me. It's like, I have to make more money than my wife. I have to make more money than Bree. And it's consuming me. And it paralyzes me to worry about money, to think about money, to make money my God. Mm-hmm. And where Bree is the exact opposite. And it just flows to her naturally, and she could do it no matter what she does. And so, and that, it's really weird. It brings up for me an insecurity, and then I get mad at my wife. I get pissed at my wife. I get angry for no reason other than I'm mad at myself. Mm-hmm. And that's been our biggest fights, is because I'm mad at myself, so I take it out on Bree.
Yeah, and it's hard because a lot of times it's not necessarily something that I did. I just pointed this out in our disagreement or a fight. Usually Mark's mad about something he's not doing, not something that I necessarily did. But when you are comparing yourself, you're always going to find the weaker place, right? And that's one thing that I have been frustrated with, is like, in this process, don't compare yourself to me. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I know. And I know that sounds like backwards or weird, that doesn't make sense, but this is the truth. I'm just showing up as me and doing it as I know. And then I'm taking these things that I've never done before and inserting what I do know and who I am into that frame, and how I allow that to work for me, and how I sell that, if you will, is just presenting people with the possibility is, if you do this, then you have that. And I am walking proof of, if you do this, then you have that. And so I'm just showing people what is possible for them in their life when they do the work, when they apply themselves, when they change their state of mind to not what can I do, it's what am I doing? What am I going to do? And I don't waver. And that's one thing that I stand by still to this day. My mom always instilled in my sisters and I, you can do anything that you want to, but you have to be the one to do it. We weren't scared of anything. My mom said at 10 years old, hey, I need you to go back the truck out of the driveway. No one would even question. It would be like, hey, where's the keys? And I would just do it because she was confident I could do it. Then I'm confident I can do it. But what's funny about Mark is, in raising our daughter, he wants her to be so confident and so dominant. And that is probably her greatest quality that he admires the most about our 10-year-old. She is so dominant, and she does not care what anyone thinks. You should see this woman worship Jesus. She does not care what any bystander thinks of her. She is happy to just be who she is. And the way that he parents that is protecting that little soul so much, so that she is that dominant person. And so it's funny as he questions himself and his own ability, how he parents his daughter is really, I think, how you should coach yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not supposed to say this, but I don't even know how. Like, it's just one of those things where it's funny. I can teach it I can coach people on it. And it's just like, and I know that if I actually fucking believed what I actually said, that more people would listen to me. But because I don't even believe it myself, very few people listen to me. Mm-hmm. And that's the crazy part about this. And that's what I know. And I've known that since going back when I was personal training in the health business. It's like, I used to make fun of like really fit trainers. How stupid is that? Like, that's just me being insecure. That's me being stupid. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, my wife is 100% correct. I had never been obsessed about anything, and it shows in my life. It shows in my fruit. And I am so mad at myself and pissed. And I make it a excuse of like, it paralyzes me. And that's an excuse. And I am so afraid if I don't snap out of this, that my wife will leave me. Mm-hmm. And we just had a disagreement last night about the salon. I've been in a funk for 2 weeks. My coach framed me on last Tuesday's call before the podcast, and we're just like, you have to make more money than your wife. Which made my wife not feel better, right? Then we had a budget meeting today, and we had a discussion last night about the salon, and Bree's already stressed out. I'm not making it any better. And so it just went back to my old self. And it's like, I know this is not where I need to be. And because it just makes me like a little bitch and a fourth child, and it doesn't make me any more attractive. And that's what I most wanted. I want to make more money, and I want to be attractive to my wife. Like, I want my wife to want me so bad. Because for so many years, she didn't, because I showed up like a little child. And there was a 3 or 4 months there where I was good to go and she was good. And then in the last couple weeks has just been, it's like, I feel like all the work I've done for 3 months is fucking all washed away.
Yeah. I mean, how many of you can feel that or relate to that right now? Is in your household, there is one spouse individual that is making things harder than it really has to be because of their own insecurities, their own frustrations, and their own self-doubt. And what's hard is when you are the driver, the director, or the force, if you will, in the relationship, that serves as an anchor, and it becomes exhausting. And so for us, where we're at is we can't live like this anymore, because otherwise we won't be together. That's the reality for our relationship. And we're not trying to lead you to believe anything different, because that is how we operate, is fully exposed now doing these podcasts in our coaching business, on our social media. It's like, oh man, they share a little bit too much. No, we share things that probably hit a pain point for you that you can't say out loud. And that was us for 12, 13 years. So, hey, we get it. We hear you. We see you. If you're a man listening to this and you feel like you could be that other child to your wife, take a good look in the mirror. See what you are not doing. Don't make it about what she's doing. Make it about what you're not doing. And show up there. And for the longest time, I didn't know how to say that to Mark. I just would say, please just care about something. I don't even care if it's another woman. Just show me you care about something. I was almost like begging him to tell me what that could be. I didn't care. Golf, something besides money, I guess. Golf or his buddies or whatever. And the things that he cared about were so irrelevant to our life at that time. We missed so much together. We missed so much. And now this is when he talks about guilt and shame and pain and anger. All of those things are stemming from the lack of doing. Not about what he did, it's what he didn't do. And that is all time that we will never get back. And that happened to me in business also. I became obsessed with having this #1 hair salon in the Central Valley. Doesn't it sound so great? But really, what it took for me to get there was to be completely obsessed with that. And there's a trade-off. And the people that missed out and lost in that trade-off were my family. The people that matter the most to me. The people that I love the most. And they got the worst part of me through that piece. Was it a sacrifice? Yes. Did it put me in a position where I could step away from my chair? Yes. Did it allow me to lead a team who could be there to operate and produce when I'm not there? Yes. But the trade-off for it was heartbreaking for me now looking back, that I missed so many years in my kids' lives. I missed so many moments with my husband. So what this looks like for us moving forward is becoming so mindful in the moment of, where are we giving our attention and our energy? Where are we allowing negative to exist in our state of mind? And this is the thing, we're human. You're never going to be perfect. I am never going to be perfect, no matter how much you compare me to Tiger Woods at this game. I appreciate that, but I'm not perfect. So when you sit here and you're comparing yourself, you're already putting thoughts in your mind that you're not good enough. I'm not only going to be good enough, I want to be the best. And I'm obsessed with that. But I am creating intentional and strict boundaries for myself, so that the trade-off is my family doesn't suffer through the process, like I had to learn through the last build out of something, a movement like this, if you will. Where does that sit for you?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I haven't never built anything like Bree has, so I'm like in no man's land. And for years, I try to band-aid it with like, oh, maybe I need to stop doing this, maybe I need to do this, maybe that, whatever, right? Which is all great, but at the end of the day, it's like you need to know who you are. You need to know what your purpose is, and you could not drink, you can go to the gym, you could do whatever you want, but if you don't know what your purpose is and what this is all about, then it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And for years I thought like, oh, I'll do 75 hard or just whatever, and it didn't fulfill me. Mm-hmm. And it's really weird, like going down this coaching program and then having to open up all this shit, and for me it's just like, fuck, what am I doing? Like, am I getting any better? And it's like I'm going crazy. And I feel like that a lot of times when people go through a transition, if it's in their body or their business, it's like you have those moments of like, dude, this is stupid. Like, I'm not doing this. Like, you see a lot in the body, like when people, you get into it 3 or 4 months and you don't get any results, or you don't see results. You're like, dude, this is the dumbest. I'm not doing this. Like, I'm done. And then, just stick with it. It's going to work. And you're like, dude, I am wanting a hamburger and drink alcohol and it's not working. And no, just stick with it, and you do, and it works. And that's where I'm at. It's like we're so young in this coaching game, and we went over our budget and all this, and me and Bree are just like, dude, what are we doing? And it's like, just stick with it. Stick with it. And I'm like, well, I feel like I'm going backwards. Like, I feel like today, I feel like the last week, like I said, all the work I've done for the last 4 or 5 months has been completely demolished. And that's a story that I'm telling myself. And that's a belief that I have that is not true. And I have to kill that. And I think for a lot of people, they have all these stories and these beliefs of why they can't do something, or why something's happening to them. And at the end of the day, it's a story that you've made up that has become your truth. And I have so many, I didn't realize until a couple years ago, how many stories I have that I thought were truths that are complete lies, that are complete garbage. And how much that has affected me my whole entire life, not just in marriage, but like through high school and through college. And before that, you have all these stories and beliefs of how you're raised and what you were taught and where you were raised, what school you went to, all these things. And they made you form an opinion of things. And I'm breaking those boxes, and it's like, it's a kind of a weird place to be in because Bree's always known who she is. I didn't know who I was at all. Like, not at all. I knew who I wanted to be like. And at the end of the day, that was like not me. That was something that was made up because of you see on social media or you see other people, right? And it's like to know who you are. Like, so when I talk to like this to Bree, she has no idea what I'm talking about. She's just like, I don't understand. Like, what you're talking about? Like, just fucking figure it out.
Not true. I showed some compassion.
I know, but you don't understand it.
No, I don't understand it.
You've never wavered. You never had these insecurities or doubts. And that's all I've dealt with my whole life. So it's really weird how we're married. And it's like, they always say, like opposites attract. And it's just, it is really complete opposite, like in how we think. And I'm trying to be more, I don't want to say more like Bree, but just more like not wavering. And when these emotions come up, like they have in the last week, I let them overtake me, and I take it out on my wife because she's the closest one to me. And then we share finances, we share businesses together, and it's like almost the worst possible thing if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's exhausting when you look at it like that. And as we are living through the moments, I feel like we get in fights or scenarios or situations where we have to like recognize it for what it is. It's like, okay, are we going to make this worse? Or are we just going to immediately attack the root and move on from it? And a lot of times we let things fester that are like not really the issue. And you address that and put out those small fires. But then when you really get to the root of it, there's like an explosion usually that brings that up. And it's like, if we would have just addressed that in the moment, none of this would have happened. And so much of our marriage was like that. 6 months later, we would bring up something that happened that I didn't even know was a thing. Or even I would do that. Like, I just would like, I'm not going to say anything. He's having a bad day or whatever. And I had so many days like that because I didn't want to fight. I was exhausted with fighting. The thought of fighting was exhausting. And so for myself, I just wouldn't even bring it up, and I deflected from it so that it would just go away. And what's funny is it never just goes away. It comes up at the worst inopportune time. And just like having this budget meeting today, I came to the table and he's like, why are you so quiet? My thought is I have to come to these meetings with boxing gloves on ready because I know I am going to dodge jabs, like left and right, they're coming my way because I know it is the one thing that triggers the greatest insecurity that Mark has. And for me, money is easy for me to make. I can do it easily because I don't care that much about it. It does not rule my life. Yes, it makes the world go round, but if I couldn't make it doing hair, I would figure out another way to make it. This is something Mark and I talked about all the time going on maternity leave. When I ended up on bed rest with my second daughter, I restructured the business model of my business to make me more money when I could not physically work. We just had to do that. I figure it out as I go. I don't have this grand, elaborate plan. I know what to do to scale and how to make that happen. But in the midst of it all, I just do what I know. And as I do that, it works for me. I know it works for me. And there may be a time where it doesn't work anymore, just like standing behind the chair and missing all of my kids' life was not working anymore. So I had to choose a different avenue to make money that would allow me more freedom. And I made this shift a couple years ago. I became an elite extension artist to relieve me of time behind my chair. But then what happened? I became really fucking good at that. And I had such a flood of business, which is a great problem to have, right? When that's what you want. But then I had no boundaries. I had no way to control that. I just would work more to make more. And then COVID instills this fear in you where you don't know if you're going to have the business in a month or the opportunity to work in a month. So then you had to take anything you could get because you didn't know the next time your doors might shut down again. So for me, it instilled this scarcity mindset that I never lived with before because there's never been anyone who's told me I can't do that. And that is why I'm so passionate about politics, because I'm all for the freedom of my rights. I know what those are. And when that was compromised or questioned in the slightest bit during COVID, that fueled my fire to be louder and bigger And it did me a favor, COVID, to build business, because I realized there were so many more like me that stood with me and who were willing to stand beside me through opening my business again than those who were not. So for me, it's best to bring up the issue right then and there, work through it. And so 2 weeks later at a budget meeting, the real root cause of the problem doesn't come up. And how we have to approach this is we've never really sat down and had budget meetings that we didn't get in a fight during. Today, there was no fight, right, babe?
Nope.
We just talked through it because we were in a place where we knew this was going to be hard and we were committed together to the hard. And that's just how you do it. You decide you're just going to do it. Good or bad, hard or easy, you just do it. And so in these situations that Mark and I have experienced where he says it's like I'm raising a fourth child, I just know I have to think logically and in the moment because Mark is not going to. Mark is going to operate out of emotions and heighten the situation. And then when I bring it to his realization, he becomes a solid oak tree in the midst of it. But it takes me to wake him up to see that. And now we're getting in a place where I want that to be on autopilot for Mark and that I don't have to wake him up to see it. And I truly believe that God has called me to be his wife because I don't let anything fly. Would you agree? I don't let you slip up a bit.
I live with fucking Jesus.
That's not true.
Like our form of Jesus, I feel like.
That is not true.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean I talked about this last week, is that God told me, he's like, hey, like, because I was like, well, like, what is Bree still doing here? Like, I am not, like, she's so far above me and she knows where she wants to go and I don't. And God told me in the stack, he's like, she's the only woman that could get through to you. Any other woman would have just either packed it in, would have just wore it. But Bree is not. She's here to wake you up and to make you rise. And I don't know if I just need to keep getting kicked in the dick to figure this out. I feel like I'm figuring it out pretty good in the last year. But days like today, weeks like we had, I'm like, it's just like if you ever played sports, I played baseball, and it's like you could be red hot, and then you go on like a 2-game slump, and you're like, I don't think I can even bunt the ball, like let alone swing and try to hit something. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I've been at for the last week, is that I am like, I can't even talk, I feel like. And my wife never experiences those times. And so it's a good thing to live with that because you see what you should do. And it's a bad thing because you're like, well, fuck, I feel really bad about myself. Like I am not anywhere where I need to be. And so, yeah, for me, I know what my wife needs. And I keep going back on it's financial. And yes, she does need me to make more money. Yes, she does need me to, I don't even know if she needs me to outproduce her, but she needs me to produce enough to where she's like, I don't need to go do this. But she also needs me to show up a certain way every day. And by the way I showed up today, by the way I showed up in the last week, is not doing it for her. And I know that. And it was funny because for the last couple months, we've been connecting really well. We've been having great time together. We've been having good sex. And then this week, when I didn't show up good, she's like, I feel like a piece of meat. And I wasn't connecting with her. And it was like, whoa, like just a week ago you were wanting me and now you're like a piece of meat. And the only thing that changed in that week was me and the way that I showed up. So when Bree first told me that, I was like, well, okay, well that's because Bree, she's like whatever. And then I was like, well, no, Mark, that's because you've shown up a different way and you've been a little baby and you've been bitching about things that you can't control, but you are choosing not to. And so it's funny, try this with your spouse. We were taught this in our coaching program. When somebody says, I don't know how, or I don't know, you say, well, if you did know, what would you change or what would you do? Because everyone has the answer. Everyone knows. And that's what I always say is like, I don't know what to do. And Bree's like, oh, you don't? And at the end of the day, it's just like, just move, just go do something. And so that's what makes me attractive. That's what makes me, that what makes Bree want me more. And I think as men that we get it twisted. We think that if we just show up that our wives are going to jump all over us. That's not how it is. Like we need to show up with certainty and a purpose and knowing what we want, because that's what our women want. That's what they want, to be secure. They want to feel safe. And I have not provided that in the last week. I didn't provide it for a long time, for maybe like 12 years, 13 years. And I've just been providing it in the last 8 months.
Yeah, no, I really believe that there's so much truth to what Mark said. Like he said, God told him, you are with Bree. Bree is your wife because she is the only one that can get through to you. I was reading in the book of Genesis the other day that the word used there when woman was created was to be the man's helper. And I talked about this on a live the other day. And really the truth is, I believe God created woman to shake the man and keep him awake. It's one thing to make him alert and awake and then they fall asleep at the wheel again. But you as the woman are called to be the helper, to shake him and wake him and keep him awake. And there's so many times in my life where I'm like, really, it would be so much easier to not start a fight right now. It'd be so much more peaceful for our holiday or our vacation to not bring that up right now. And what does that do? It causes a greater explosion down the road than if I just took the second to say, hey, I want you to check yourself because this wasn't right. This wasn't right. That didn't work for me. That doesn't work for you long term. So let's figure out why. And now let's fix it. And so as women, you feel like a nag to point all these things out. I don't want to be naggy. Forget naggy. I don't want my soul to die and my marriage to diminish because I didn't nag. Let me help you out, boy, because that's what God created me for. So for me, that's how I run my program. That's how I run my household. And most people don't get it, and I understand that. But I know the other side of that is when you don't be that helper, when you don't be that woman. I lived like that for 12, 13 years trying to always diffuse Mark's emotions. I'm like, you know what? You're a big boy. I am not worried anymore about you and your emotions. That is not going to dictate how I operate and how I live and how I am not going to waver. And so we had to come to this agreement is that I am called to be that woman for him, whether he likes it or not. But you chose this, right? You have every right to leave if you don't want to continue down this path. And I invited him to come alongside me, but it was his choice. But he couldn't do it like that, not showing up, uncertain and wavering. We're not doing that anymore. That doesn't work for me. And so for Mark, he said, I want to be a part of what you're doing. I want to create this life for us. I want to be solid. And so that's why we're doing this. And I know most people don't get it, but most people are in denial about where they're at. I'm not going to live a single day in denial. So sitting down for a budget meeting, you know what that does? It opens up some really heavy pain points for us, exposing a lot. And we have to do it every month. And you know what? I'm going to become obsessed with this where I want to do this every week, where I become a professional so I can sit at a budget meeting with my husband and not feel like I need to put on my punching gloves or boxing gloves for that matter, that we can work through this and talk through it because we are in this wave of unknown in our finances like we've never lived before. And the craziest part about it, I told Mark that I'm struggling with the most, is it's almost like the devil's dangling this carrot in front of my face. Because Bree, if you just go back to work one day, you can make up the discrepancy in your budget. but that's not what I'm called to do. And I don't believe that that voice is coming from God. And I know what's easy and what most people would choose is go back to work one day a week. I'm not doing that because I know what I've been called for. God is going to provide all of that, and he already is. What I've done in a month in coaching for never doing this before is like what more people make sometimes in their careers after 20 years. I understand that. But again, I'm not obsessed with the money. My focus is the people and the faces and the souls that I am called to touch. And with that comes money. I don't need to focus on that to do it. Yes?
Trying to get there.
Yep. Every day, one day at a time. And we don't have it all figured out, but what we do, we promise we will share with you, because it took us 17 years, 18 years to sit here and be able to say these things so raw.
Yeah, we weren't going to do the podcast. Well, we were going to do it, and then I threw a tantrum, and then Bree's like, "Do you want to do it?" And we had a whole different topic, and then I was like, "Well, let's just talk about
this
men that are little bitches." And she's like, "You want to?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And honestly, I feel better. So if you guys are fighting ever, just do a podcast. Just put it out there on the open and have everybody see it, because at the end of the day, it is real life. And I don't think I'm the only man that struggles with emotions. Maybe not. Maybe you outproduce your wife financially, but in other ways, you bottle up, you don't say anything, you let it eat at you, or you're super emotional where you fly off the handle, all those things, right? And so, yeah, and I mean, if what I can tell you is the only reason that Bree could handle me and have the conversations that she does is because she doesn't waver, and she knows that God is in control. And why I used to fly off the handle and I used to be 1,000 times worse was because I didn't have a compass north. I believed in God, but I didn't put my faith in God. And so now knowing what I know and the work I've done on myself, is there still a ton of work to do? 100%. Have I gotten better? What would you say? Yes, I have gotten better. If like what I'm doing now in coaching and Bree doing in coaching in the salon, like this would have been a daily occurrence. Now it's like a bi-monthly occurrence. But what if it's kind of crazy, because when it happens, it's like, it feels like it's 10 times worse than it was back in the day. Because back in the day, it was just,
we wouldn't get to
normal.
the core root. Yeah.
It's just normal. And so if you're struggling with that, it's normal. The best way to do it is lean into God. Talk to your wife about it. Don't suppress it, because that's the easiest part, is suppress, and then fucking explode. Or don't talk about it, and then you cheat on your wife. She cheats on you. Whatever it is, then you get divorced. Whatever. It's just like, talk about it. Be open. Be honest. We're not perfect, except for Bree. We're not perfect. Just let it out and just let it go, because I know for me, I dwell on it and nothing good happens. I become a worse father. I become a worse husband, friend, all that stuff. So.
Yeah, no, I think this is some good nuggets to take away. And I think it's things that people deal with every day in any relationship, business partnerships. Like, Mark is my business partner. And I promised myself I would never have another business partner after having this one. But it's the card we were handed, and we're doing it, and it's hard. But we're talking through it, and every day we learn something new about us, about our business, but we make a conscious effort to do so. So, yeah, I feel like we're in a place right now where these things would have been drawn out 2-3 weeks in the past, and we can sit down and have a conversation and move on from them, because we both want the same thing. And that's where true alignment comes from, or comes into place, because it really alters everything in our relationship. Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully next week we'll have not an argument for you, and I will
Don't count on it.
Don't count on it. But if you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe and download. If you are listening on Apple or Spotify or any podcast platform, give us a like and leave a comment below. A good one. We don't want any negative ones. Just keep those to yourself. Until next time, we're signing off. God is good.
Goodbye. Oh.